Behind the Numbers, the podcast keeps you updated with football within the hobby. I'm excited for the show today as we dive into the playoff picture, look at some of the draft positions, and finish up our final weekly rookie report. I'll update you on weekly Prism prices, some hot singles out of Obsidian and Immaculate as of late, and I'll take a look forward to Contenders and Optic and kind of see what those pre-sales and pricing looks like. We're going to finish up with a buy and sell, go over some of my good and bad calls of the year, and then finish off with my playoff predictions. Now, it's time for the show. Welcome to Behind the Numbers, Week 17. It's playoff week. It's an exciting time of football. We've got through the regular season for the most part unscathed, and we finally have our top 14 this year, which is a new trend of 7 teams on both sides, only one team getting a bye. So kind of still trying to figure out if I like how that looks or how that is. But overall, pretty excited. Some really exciting matchups we'll get to in the show. But thanks for being back with me again as we come to the end of the regular season and the playoff time. It's kind of a big time in the hobby in terms of people trying to find those buys of players on the rise that make an impact of really meaningful games. And so we'll kind of go through that and see some opportunity there. But as usual, we'll just kind of kick the show off with our Prism update, just so that you know where you stand in terms of your Prism wax if you have or are looking to buy. So our cello packs are still at 25, hanger boxes 42 to 45, blaster boxes 60 to 65, and mega boxes 130 to 140 as your retail options. Nothing's changed over the last week. I think the blaster boxes have kind of hit 60, come back to 65 just a little bit, but I mean, that's really hard with a $5 up and down change. It's pretty consistently around 60 to 65. No huddle boxes, only one sale as of late was around $750, so that has dropped a little bit. Hobby boxes actually up to $1150, and there wasn't any recent first off the line, so we're still assuming that's around $1,400. Those are a little bit harder to find for sale since they're not as easy. They're lower production, so. But yeah, and then just wanted to kind of jump into some other new release updates in terms of the Immaculate, some just notable sales. We talked about a lot of these singles on the last time of the show, so I just wanted to kind of go over a couple interesting sales. One that kind of stuck out to me was Chase Young Eye Black out of 99, 152. The reason that stuck out to me is because Jonathan Taylor Shadow Box Auto, which is also out of 99, was 158. And I just put that in there because I feel like Chase Young is getting a lot of love in the hobby. I mean, he is a incredible physical specimen. He is not a human. He looks like he's on the show from Predators and Aliens. He's a monster. And he's not single-handedly, they have a really good all-around defense, but he's been a huge part of that defense being really strong. And it gives them a shot against Tampa Bay. I don't think they have a legitimate shot just because they don't have the offense, I think, to keep up. But their defense, they can make some plays. You never know when it comes to the playoffs. But Chase Young is having some value in the hobby, and I do think we have to keep that, of note. And same with Immaculate. Jordan Love, RPA out of 99, 300. And I kind of put that on there as kind of a head nod because I feel like Jordan Love's value has stayed relatively consistent and he just hasn't done anything. Rodgers is right now, they're saying the odds-in favorite for MVP over Mahomes right now. And so as of now, there's really no chance for Jordan Love to get any traction, any type of playing time. It just seems like he's pretty far out. So to see his value really stay consistent has been surprising. That we hadn't even got any look of him and heard anything good at all either. So just interesting that Jordan Love is still staying relatively respectable in the hobby with what he hasn't been able to do this year, which is play or show us anything. Justin Herbert, triple patch rookie out of 49, 167. Put that on there. It's a pretty solid price for a triple relic. No auto, just low numbered. So that's pretty solid. And then kind of a couple Obsidian notable sales. Justin Jefferson, Orange Etch, it's called. Pretty cool cards. I really, like I said last time on the show, I really like the Obsidian base cards. I think they're really cool looking cards. That was out of 75 for Jefferson, sold for 165. So you can see that the hobby's kind of agreeing that Obsidian, you'll see here in a second when I get to some of the other cards, the autos just don't have the value. People don't care about the autos as much. Obsidian, it's all about the base and the low numbered rookies now, that set. So if you're looking to get some Obsidian, that's where I would look towards. Other one, Herbert dual patch auto out of 100, 350. So again, Jefferson out of 75, non-auto for 165, a Herbert dual patch auto for 350. So you can just see that the auto relics in that set are not valued. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're getting into breaks or if you're looking to buy a card from that set, kind of lean towards the non-autos and base variations, I think. Joe Burrow, Supernova, very, I'm not sure if it's a case hit, but it's a very hard card to hit, but it's a die cut out of 15 with for 450. Picked that one out. It's just a really cool looking card. Very unique. It kind of has a like I said, die cut, like a roundish die cut look to it, black. Really cool card. 450 is very good for a non-auto. So again, the Obsidian non-auto cards are doing well. And Jalen Hurts RPA auto out of 50, only 200. So an RPA for Hurts out of 50 is only hitting 200. Again, just illustrates what I keep saying too, is the autos aren't carrying that kind of value. So what's coming up in terms of product, guys, is we have Playbook on the 13th, Contenders on the 20th of January, and then we have Optic on the 10th. And just looking at the pricing, Optic's the big one, the next kind of big of the three, if you will. So we're just kind of waiting to see what that's going to look like when it comes out. Playbook is kind of that secondary product. The hobby boxes are pre-selling around 400. Panini Contenders is kind of really big for autos. The base cards don't do super well, but the autos overall are pretty attractive. The cracked ices and the numbered autos do really well. Really cool looking cards. The game ticket look, that's a really good football card. In my mind, I like them for football, especially over basketball myself. But those pre-sale hobby boxes are going for 600, and then the Optic pre-sale on February 10th is for 900. So Optic's coming out pretty hot for a pre-sale around 900. That's a lot, not a lot closer, but I would just say closer to Prism. I thought it'd be closer to 800 for the hobby boxes coming out in terms of pre-sales. So it'll be interesting to see if that holds or if that where that price goes as we get closer to that time in February, right when we finish up the Super Bowl. Very interesting time for Optic to come out, kind of like that kickoff, or not kickoff, I'd say going home product as we start to shut down for football for the year. But overall, those I'm really interested to see the Contenders, see what those quarterback autos look like. And then the Optic is always pretty fun with the color parallels and has a lot to offer in terms of the rookie cards. So definitely looking forward to those as we get there. It's kind of our last rookie report of the year because it's the playoffs. And so we'll update some of the rookies in the playoffs and how they're doing. But this is kind of the last major one. I kind of had a couple side notes to guys that made NFL waves in terms of their status, in terms of rank. And so I kind of know those for you guys as well. So Joe Burrow, just on his year, again, he was out, but I just want to note that he did throw for almost 2,700 yards with a 65% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns and 5 picks before his injury. Justin Herbert, the last week, he was 22 for 31 for 301, 3 touchdowns. He had 9 yards rushing in his win over KC. KC had all their backups in, but it's a good performance for him. But he ended up in the league 6th overall in passing, which is pretty dang impressive for a rookie that I didn't think was going to play this year. And that was kind of where I get to my hits and misses of the year. I don't know we can blame the trainer for puncturing Tyrod Taylor's lung, but really interesting to see how well he did when he got in. And a lot of people like myself thought that he was going to be maybe later in the year type of guy. So big year for him. As we know, rookie of the year right now, the big chase in the products. Nothing new there. Tua, struggling. 35 for 58 for 361, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. They lost the game they had to win to get to the playoffs. So a lot of the momentum with Tua, getting Miami to the playoffs and taking off and just, having a chance to really grow his hobby love is kind of going the other direction now. There's a lot of questions, a lot of concern with Tua in terms of his NFL caliber arm, in terms of what he can do for the Dolphins going forward. And the Dolphins have the 3rd pick in the draft. So there's going to be a lot of interesting decisions made in terms of Miami. I think the obvious choice would be to take the top O tackle and protect him. But if they're not sold on him, they could go elsewhere. So some things to consider there with Tua going forward, definitely in terms of if you're collecting him, or I'd love to hear how you feel about Tua going forward in the comments. I think he's a very big question mark right now. I think we can't say he's toast or he's a bust at all, but I think there's definitely some concerns. And Miami has a lot of picks and a lot of momentum to build that team the way they want, and they can't wait on a quarterback that's going to slow them down if they think he's not the guy. So I won't be surprised if they do make a quick decision that may surprise us. I still think they'll give him a year. I think he'll at least get next year, but something definitely to monitor is what they do with Tua over the next year or so with Miami. Jalen Hurts, 7 for 20 for 72 yards, 1 pick, 8 rushes, 34 yards, 2 touchdowns. Washington's defense really tough. They also pulled him at the end. Very skeptical call. A lot of people felt this Eagles' way of tanking, not wanting to win that game. And so they kind of took Hurts out. But he was 7 for 20, so he wasn't playing great from the pocket. So, it kind of goes either way on that. But anyway, Hurts still overall had some impressive moments. I still question the passing ability overall. We'll see how he comes out next year. I think next year should be really big to see what the Eagles do. Wentz is already kind of asking for a trade in side channels to kind of see where he's going to go or what's going to happen with that is also going to be an interesting storyline because he has shown some talent in the past. We haven't seen it lately. Tier 2 guys, CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches for 43 yards, 1 for 3 rushing. Jefferson, another big day, 9 for 133, ends up 4th in the league in receiving yards, which is incredible. I think it was the highest for the rookie ever. So Justin Jefferson, big year in Minnesota. CEH was out again, but he ended up in the year 19th in the league in rushing, which isn't too bad for being out as long as he has been in kind of the up and down year he had. Jordan Love's out. T. Higgins, no catches. Brandon Allen had 43 yards passing in their game against the Ravens, so it wasn't him. Claypool, big day, 5 for 101, 1 touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 30 rushes for 253 and 2 touchdowns. That vaulted him all the way up to the 3rd in the league in rushing. His last 3 games have just been incredible. He is a big reason why. Definitely going to be watching that Colts-Bills game close in the playoffs because the Colts can run, the Bills don't defend the run as well. They're 20th in the league in defending the rush. So I put that on the Twitter for behind the numbers, just saying watch out for that upset alert because I think that's a big possibility. If Josh Allen has a couple turnovers and the Colts get going in the running game, that game could go a lot of different directions. Brandon Ayuk didn't have anything this week. Antonio Gibson came back to kind of more of a full workload, 19 for 75, 1 for 6. He ended up with 20th in the league in rushing. Not too bad for a couple games out. James Robinson was out again, and he still ended 5th in the league in rushing, which is also really impressive. J.K. Dobbins, 13 for 161, 2 touchdowns, ended up 18th in the league in rushing. So they can see a lot of these guys are just producing, like we talked about whenever Ty and I have talked about a couple times. The depth of this class has been incredible. The production of this class has been incredible. They've done a lot for the league in terms of statistics. Excuse me. So it's been overly impressive, and I think next year could have a similar crop. It looks like some receivers, a lot of receivers coming in next year that could do very similar to this year's. DeAndre Swift in tier 3, 12 for 54, 1 touchdown, 3 receptions for 16 yards. Judy, 5 for 140, 1 touchdown, had 1 big touchdown. He had like an 80-yarder, I believe, that kind of really pushed his stats up. Chase Young, another sack, another fumble recovery. Michael Pittman, 2 for 28, and Jalen Reagor, 1 for 15. Cam Akers, 21 for 34, 4 for 52. Couldn't get much going because they weren't going after the pass at all. They were packing the box. Goff was out with his fractured, dislocated thumb on his throwing hand, so the Rams were trying to do whatever they could there. But he did have 4 for 52, so they were giving him as many touches as they could to see if they can pop anything. Zach Moss, 3 for 8, 1 for 13. Chenault's really getting going, 6 for 68 for 2 touchdowns. That kind of intrigues me because a lot of the reasons that Mims was kind of my sleepers, I thought that Lawrence was going to be in the Jets, and now it looks like Chenault's going to get Lawrence, so that could be huge for Chenault next year. So he's kind of a sleeper. I've been targeting breaks and trying to get a little bit of Chenault stock in terms of his rookie cards and rookie autos because they're dirt cheap. Henry Ruggs, nothing. Very disappointing year for him overall. I thought he'd be more of a contributor. Denzel Mims, 1 for 15. A.J. Dillon kind of came back to earth, 1 for 3. There's really didn't get much. And then I put at the end here, we haven't talked about him much, but he actually has been pretty productive in Chicago, is Darnell Mooney. So another pretty good receiver too for Chicago. He's got a few touchdowns this year. He's been actually quite productive for a rookie. So he's another guy that's been relatively cheap. I saw a couple of Obsidian cards of him when I was looking them up that I was like, oh man, I'd just pay $15 for a nice Mooney auto and just see where he goes because he's been pretty good deep guy, pretty good vertical receiver. So just want to go over just maybe like the top 10 here for where the draft sits in terms of draft picks. So just give my take of how that's going to affect a couple of things. First pick's Jacksonville. So you kind of, I think, pretty much put that in pen. It's going to be Lawrence. 2 is the Jets. Pretty much, I think that's going to be Justin Fields. And then 3 is where it gets interesting because Miami's sitting there. They could go an elite receiver like Devonta Smith. Give Tua, that number 1 guy, which Devonta Smith, if you've seen his numbers in college this year, it's been incredible. They could go O-line. They could O-tackle at Oregon, which all those things could benefit Tua. So it looks like that pick 3 to me could really benefit Tua if Miami decides to go that direction. Atlanta at 4 gets really interesting because then it's a decision of, is Matt Ryan done? Because there's 3 or 4 more quarterbacks. They got Mac Jones at Alabama. It's been really strong this year. They got Trey Nance at North Dakota State. Yeah, very talented quarterback as well. And then there's also the quarterback out of BYU, name slipping my mind, but he's also Zach Wilson, I believe, is also got a pretty good arm. I'm not as impressed with him, but Mac Jones I haven't seen much of myself, but his numbers been really good at Alabama, been really efficient. So it's gonna be interesting to see what teams like Atlanta do, what Detroit does, Carolina. Questions about Denver at quarterback. So 4 for Atlanta, 7 for Detroit, 8 for Carolina, and 9 for Denver. Kind of seeing what those teams do at the quarterback position, or if they try to trade up or move around to get one of those third quarterbacks. It's going to be tough for them to get to 1-2. I think 1-2 is locked into those top 2 guys. But I think that next group of quarterbacks, there might be some movement in those picks to see what they can do. So after Atlanta, so Cincinnati sitting there at 5. They'd love to add an O-lineman to protect Burrow. There should be a couple available there. Philadelphia 6, Detroit 7, like I said, Carolina 8, Denver 9, and Dallas lands at 10 for the draft. So that's kind of where the draft picks look like. Okay, so wanted to kind of get into a little bit on our – there it is. Want to get a little bit on just a quick little buy and sell, and then we'll get into the playoff picture and what's going on this week. Very interesting buy and sell for quarterback here for me. I have Lamar Jackson, PSA 10 Prism rookie for $800 versus Baker Mayfield, PSA 10 Prism rookie for $275. It's a really tough call here because, I mean, obviously the talent is Lamar Jackson, but that gap is massive. And I've been saying this all year, I'm just really concerned about Lamar's passing ability. I do think the Ravens are going. I do think that he has a chance. I think they're going to win week 1. I'll kind of spoiler alert, but I do think they're going to beat the Titans. But Baker's getting comfortable, and Baker's liking that offense, and he's been really efficient this year. I mean, you take that Jets game, if you're going to put that on for me, that's fine. But the Jets game, he had 0 of his receivers. Most of the offense was missing. So I don't put any stock into that. He's got the Browns to the playoffs for the first time in 18 years. I think all these things are really big things. And to me, I'm going to buy Baker there. I just think Baker's so much cheaper that he's got more growth potential. I'm not sure how much growth potential Lamar has, and I'm not sure what Lamar's going to be able to do. What he's going to be able to do to get up to that next top level, like the Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Brady up, like if he's going to be able to get up there. Is Baker? No. But I do think Baker can get to close to where Lamar is now if he starts winning a couple of games in the playoffs. So I'm going to take Baker there. Nick Chubb, 18 Prism Green, ungraded 40, which I thought pretty high. I gave that card away in my giveaway, so I was kind of a little bit oh, dang. Whoops. But that was a good giveaway, I guess. And then Jonathan Taylor, 2020 Prism Green is $15. And so both these running backs have been, I think, some of the top running backs in the league at some points this year when they're healthy, when they're really getting going. Like Taylor's been the best running back these last 3 weeks. Chubb's been probably the best running back the last 6 weeks combined, maybe. But I think they're both really good running backs. I think that for me, probably Taylor at 15 just because the price difference. I do think Taylor has a Nick Chubb type upside. And I like Taylor's offensive line. His offensive line is just incredible. They've even been good with that with their injuries they've kind of withstanding. So overall, I would definitely go Jonathan Taylor there for a nice cheap little colored Prism buy. A couple interesting receivers I threw out here just because I think they are completely undervalued in terms of their talent. And I think they're kind of a situation is everything, and they're in a bad situation. So in terms of being a receiver, Allen Robinson is my first one. Allen Robinson is 9th in the league in receiving yards this year with the revolving door of Foles and Trubisky. And I just think he's been really impressive. He's been really valuable in fantasy. And 2014 Prism Silver rookie for him raw is $14. I was like, are you kidding me? $14 for Allen Robinson. I think he's just a really talented receiver. If he was anywhere else but the Bears, if he was in Green Bay, if he was in Dallas or Atlanta, he would be a monster. And I just think he's a perfect example of situations everything. And it may not get better for him, so I'm not sure if his value is going to greatly increase. But I'm just telling you that he is better than a $14 raw Prism Silver receiver. I can guarantee you that. So I thought he was really interesting. Terry McLaurin is very similar. He's had a tough time with quarterbacks as well in Washington, and he's 13th in the league in receiving still with the revolving door of Alex Smith and Dwayne Haskins and all the things the the Washington football team was trying to do. So, and his base Prism's $15. So I kind of put those there. His base Prism is 15. Allen Robinson's Prism Silver is 14. So I'm going to take Allen Robinson. Just looking through, there's a lot of cheap Allen Robinson color and Prism. Let's take those, grade them. If they get the quarterback position figured out, or if he leaves in free agency or gets traded, I think he could just have a nice little bump in value there. And I think McLaurin's still a great receiver. And I think the Washington football team is going to get that quarterback thing figured out with Ron Rivera, and he'll be fine overall. So it's just kind of my quick little buy sell there with the quarterback, running back, and receivers. If you have any differences or want to make comments on those, go and leave comments in the show notes there. So a couple of my misses and hits from 2020, just reviewing some of my show notes as I got ready for the show this week. I'll start with my misses, just kind of own up to them. I missed on Cam Newton. I think in the beginning I was pretty gung-ho on him. I thought that he could get into Bill Belichick's system and just they would still win games and he would still make the Patriots a viable contender. He had that COVID thing that kind of really messed up the rhythm. He did show some solid signs early, and then it just fell off, never got it back, and, they missed the playoffs for the first time in, almost 20 years. So definitely missed on Cam Newton. I missed on Sam Darnold. I thought Sam Darnold, second year with Gase, I did think that Gase offensive mind would be helpful for him, but I did not see him taking this massive step back. I thought we'd see a little bit of growth, and instead we saw the opposite. So he's a guy that I'm definitely interested in kind of holding or seeing where his rookie cards in the offseason, because you can have these teams like Pittsburgh that, Big Ben's done, Detroit or Minnesota or so many teams that just use a little quarterback. The Patriots, so many teams that could just try a young quarterback like Darnold, give him a second chance. It could work out. I'm going to definitely be paying attention to his rookie cards, see where they get and what options kind of seem like they're lining up for him to go. Because I do think that I still think he's a talented quarterback. I don't think it's all him. I think a lot of it was situation, but we will see what happens. I put miss on Josh Allen. I like Josh Allen, but I didn't think he'd be this good. I didn't think he'd be a top 3, top 4 quarterback in the league. I didn't think he'd jump Lamar and Baker and all those guys that quickly in the 2018 class. So overall, just Josh Allen has really surprised me in terms of the growth, and the team they love him. He is a likable guy. He's just one of those plays as hard as he can all the time type of guy. So he's definitely starting to become a fan favorite as well. I put Herbert on my miss, which is funny because I'm an Oregon fan. I love Herbert. I'm a fan for sure, but I just didn't think he was going to play this year. I did not see him coming in and doing this well this early. Like I said on the opening weeks of the show, I thought he was really raw. I thought it'd take more time for him to come in and be the 6th, leading passer in the league his first year. Just blew me away. So I was completely missed on that, and I happily missed on that as a fan. So I'll own that one. A couple things that I got right. I was off Daniel Jones all of last year in my writing, and this year I've been off Daniel Jones as well. Drew Lock was the same. I thought their prices were extremely high coming into the season. I thought they were all big, easy sells, and that seems to be true as of now. Justin Jefferson, I was a pretty hit for me. I have him in all my dynasty leagues. He's a guy that I just think when he came out, I thought he was the best receiver coming out. So kind of hit on him. And DK, I thought he'd take that next step. I think he kind of has. Maybe that might not be a hit, but I still think he's kind of that number one receiver going forward in terms of just the touchdowns and his future with Russ Wilson and all those. With Seattle, I think he's going to be a big factor, and I think he's going to make some noise in the playoffs as well. So with that, just getting to the playoff picture. So we do have 3 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday. So for Saturday, we got the Colts at Buffalo. Buffalo's a 6.5 favorite. Rams at Seattle with a 4.5 favorite. And I wonder if that's with them thinking that Goff might play, which it looks doubtful he's going to play. Bucks at Washington, 8.5 favorite for the Bucks. Ravens at Titans, and the Ravens are a 3.5 favorite. Bears at Saints. Saints are 9-point favorites, and Browns at Steelers for 4.5. I was going to make the picks on the fly here for you. I've been thinking about them all day, but I just think I think the Colts are a big problem for Buffalo, but I do think Buffalo's going to get it done, so I'm going to go with Buffalo there. But since Goff's not playing, I think the Rams defense will keep him in it, but I do think Seattle will pull away and make the plays at the end to win. I think Bucks at Washington's going to be closer than people think. I would take Washington with the spread, 8.5. I just think that their defense can keep it close, and I can see a couple turnovers from Brady making things difficult, but I'll take the Bucks there. I'm going to take the Ravens at Titans. I am going to take the Ravens here. They are favored, even though it's at Tennessee. I just think that whole issue with Harbaugh not shaking Vrabel's hand and the Titans dance on the logo, I just think the Ravens are just going to be narrow just zoomed in, focused, and ready to go. And I do think they will slow down Henry a bit and take that game. It could prove me wrong if the running game gets going, but I just don't know if the Titans defense can slow down Baltimore enough. Bears at Saints, I think, is a very sneaky game. I just think the Bears pass rush could get to Breeze. We'll see if Michael Thomas is ready to go. The Saints, they're a well-rounded team. I think they'll be able to get by, but I don't look like the Saints making another win after this. I do think they are still a little bit limited what they can do. So I do think they'll get by the Bears, but that one I might take the Bears with the spread. And lastly, Browns at Steelers, and I think I will make the sleeper just to maybe rub Shani the wrong way, but I'm going to take the Browns. I'm going to see if the Browns can make that big win that makes that kind of turns that franchise up. I think that is very far-fetched, and I'm going to say I have about a 10% confidence but that's just a sleeper pick that I'm going to go with this week. But anyways, thanks for being with you guys for week 17. We will keep updating you throughout the playoffs is kind of my plan. And as we go through the playoffs, we'll start to kind of talk a little bit about those lesser rookies or guys in the offseason to look forward to for buys in terms of their moves or change in scenery, like we said, Chenault with getting Lawrence, or maybe some free agents that might have a chance to bounce somewhere else. But yeah, we'll keep you guys up to date and keep making smart moves with our football cards and moving forward. But thanks for being with me. Take care. Leave a comment and I hope you had a great New Year.